Hi everyone, Carol Mahoney from Unbound Growth here, and I'm wondering, do you have one of these health watches or Fitbits? Seems like everyone does. But how many of us actually look at our stats, or even know what it means to our overall health, or why they're important and lead to the outcomes that we're looking for? Kind of reminds me how a lot of sales teams use their CRM systems. It's there, they use it every day, but does it really impact what they're doing and how they're doing it? On today's live Sales Management Lab, we talked about the metrics that no sales manager can afford to ignore. But first, a quick disclaimer. Before you take the metrics that I'm about to share with you as the gospel of how to measure your pipeline for predictable results in 2019, remember one thing. Context is king, and its subjects is variables. I like to think of metrics kind of like a doctor would when trying to diagnose a patient and their health. When a doctor runs tests, they're usually looking for indicators like high cholesterol to tell whether or not you're in danger of having a heart attack, because they know the higher your cholesterol, the more likely you're going to get that outcome. And like a doctor who runs tests or a patient who wears a Fitbit, managers need metrics in order to diagnose and to coach to their desired outcomes. As a sales manager, the pipeline health equivalent for you might include metrics that most of us track, like margins, closing rate, average order size, time to close, number of deals in the pipeline, or even their top 5 opportunities. Most of us track those, but few actually look at things like the cost per sales call, how effective and efficient are the conversations that's happening. They also don't really look at the movement in the pipeline as much as they should. How long are pipe opportunities staying in each stage? Then there's the pipeline balance. Are there enough opportunities in each stage, or is there a little bit skinny on this side and a little bit fatter over here? Another thing to look at might be the calendar or the schedule availability of your salespeople. How booked out are they? Some might even be as progressive as to say, I know that when a deal reaches this stage, it has a 70% chance of closing. But do you know what it takes to get to that stage? Are you measuring and tracking for that? To start having more accurate forecasts, you need to also track for the context. I suggest creating scorecards to grade the key areas using leading metrics, such as the quality of the opportunities. You could score this based on the number of contacts that need to be involved, how many meetings or conversations or emails need to happen, if you've identified the compelling reason to buy, and if it's been articulated by the decision makers and the influencers. Not enough for just your salesperson to say so. It doesn't stop there. The activities that happen and the quality of those activities are only as good as the salesperson who's going to execute them. If you really want a predictable sales pipeline and metrics, you cannot ignore the metrics around the mindsets and skill sets of your team. Measuring things like how much need for approval they have, or whether or not they can control their emotions, are indicators as to whether or not they're going to ask enough questions or even enough tough or informative questions that get their prospects to think and add value. If a salesperson isn't doing those things, then they may be a place where they need to have coaching and what is getting in their way of executing on those activities. That is where your real predictability is going to happen. Metrics are the evidence of things that have happened. Lagging metrics tell you what happened, but leading metrics tells you what needs to happen to get to this desired outcome. When you're thinking about which metrics that you can't afford to ignore, think of your pipeline as the patient, and you are its doctor. Don't take your salesperson word that the deal is going to close. Ask for evidence. Measure what could kill a deal. Measure what needs to happen for it to be truly healthy. How many steps does your sales team need to make in order to lose the weight and lower their cholesterol to be healthy? Join me on the next live Sales Management Lab happening on February 18th, and we're going to talk about my favorite subject, the fundamentals of coaching, the place where you can really start to make an impact on your pipeline. Check out the links below to learn more, send in your question, and sign up to save your seat. Until then,